next day when I went back to work and realized that I left my voicemail message before the beep. That's some fast talking there.
That is some very fast talking. What led to the cocaine abuse at that time?
I think a lot of times when you start into things, it's just a thing like, I just want to fit in, first of all. And you want to be comfortable and relax and be who you are and all that stuff. And I think that gave that to me. But then when you have that addictive personality, it kind of takes over everything. So it's controlling everything that you're doing. So it got to that point to where it was controlling me and I wasn't controlling that.
Why were you hiding drugs on set though? Why didn't you just keep it in your pocket?
Because I was more concerned about people seeing what I was doing, like why does he keep going into his pocket, versus me just disappearing for a few months, going to another floor, nobody knew where I'm at all.
But can't you take your key, dip off to the bathroom?
I was high, so yeah, I'm not even thinking on that level.
Well, before I call it abuse, let me ask this question. Were we talking grams here, 8 balls, or like O's?
8 balls.
8 balls?
All the time, 8 balls.
We're talking about 8 ball a day, 8 ball a weekend, 8 ball a week.
8 ball maybe a day.
God damn! Do you have any cartilage left in your nose?
Yeah, I do.
How long did that happen? Well, how long did that go on?
Well, I mean, I did that a while, and then I started to shoot coke. I was shooting it in my arms and all that stuff.
Not familiar with shooting it. Do you have to cook it, or how does that work?
I don't remember. I think you do have to heat it up just like you do, like if you was doing heroin. I think it was. It's kind of like this same kind of thing. You heat it up just a little bit and mix it. Then you just put it in the syringe.
Is the sensation different from snorting it or smoking?
It's quick.
Like how quick are we talking?
Quick. As soon as you do it.
You
quick.
Get that coke
Yeah.
out. How long does it last?
Oh, I don't remember. And I'm kind of glad I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it more intense?
Yeah.
Than snorting?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What led you to?
And then I did the freebase and stuff too. Did that too. When you know it's time is up doing drugs when you go to a party wearing all white and you leave and your clothes are black from you crawling on your hands and knees looking for rocks.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I was with my friend David. He lived in South Central. We went around the corner to his cousin's or somebody's garage, and everybody was smoking. And I had on all white. It was 4th of July. I never forget. We never made it out for 4th of July. And when I left, by the time I left, I mean, my clothes were black. I had to throw the clothes away from crawling on my hands and knees. And they were like, "There's a piece there," and I'm crawling over there.
How clean was this dude's house that your clothes
I was in the garage.
Oh, you were in the garage. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, brother.
Yeah.
What time period? Are we talking the 80s, the year?
Yeah, the 80s,
or?
the 80s. Yeah, the early 80s, 84, 83, somewhere around there.
At that time.
And then I remember when I worked on the, Margaret Avery brought this to my attention from The Color Purple. I don't remember this. She said when we got back to LA after filming The Color Purple, that actually came to her house asking for money. And I had the story, I need this and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, that was my next question. Where was all the money coming from?
Yeah.
Were you getting it from your father?
When I was making good money.
Because the 8 ball is like, what, $300 at that time? No, like $150.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I know I was making good money. Plus, when you're getting paid like $650 a week per diem on top of your salary,
Mm-hmm.
when you're filming on location, so I was making good money.
Mm.
So good money, and when I got back to LA, I remember I had the private car picked me up at the airport, and I got to my apartment, had them wait, and my friend David and I got back in the limo and went down to South Central and bought some rocks, and left his niece, 2-year-old niece, sleep in the apartment.
2-year-old niece?
Yeah.
Damn, that coke is serious, man.
Mm-hmm.
How long did the addiction last? Or the abuse?
You're looking at some years of doing stuff, but it wasn't a thing like I was doing it like on an everyday basis to where I wasn't functioning, One reason why my family would know if I was doing something because they wouldn't hear from me and see me. Because I never came around anybody in my family high at all, ever.
So it wasn't known that you...
No, they knew I was doing something, but they could never say for sure because they never saw me. They never saw me messed up. They never saw me high out of my mind or anything like that. They've only know because of what I've told them.
In freebasing, I remember a joke from Live on Sunset Strip where your father said he was freebasing and set himself on fire by accident.
Well, it wasn't an accident, but
So tell that story.
well, it set itself on fire. You know, when you that high and stuff, and I think when you're in such a dark place and you're getting high and you can't get any more high and all the thoughts are still there and you're like sick of what you're doing, you're tired of what you're doing, you tend to give up on things. And I think he was at that point.
Did you visit him in the hospital?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
What was it like?
It was very difficult.
What did you guys talk about?
Well, he didn't talk that much because, you know, he was very heavily sedated, but it was very hard seeing him. You're sitting there talking to him and skin's falling off his body, you know. So it was very hard to see him like that. You know, literally burnt from your waist up when you know. So it was a tough thing.
How long was he in the hospital?
I don't know. It was a while. It was weeks, I know that. I'm not sure exactly the time, but I remember it was quite a while.
Did you ever talk to him about the incident?
No. No, we never really discussed it or talked about it or anything like that.
Wow, it was never discussed him in the hospital. It was just business as usual.
Yeah.
Was there a notable change in his behavior before and after the fire?
Well, you're looking at someone who's a little sober now, so that was a big difference. He was more accessible as far as being able to see him on a regular basis compared to when he was actually really getting high all the time. You know, you didn't know if you'd see him this week or next week, you know. Now when he's like recovering, had access to him. You know, that was, I call it the fruits and vegetable phase, you know, because that's what he's eating, like fruits and vegetables, healthy and all that kind of stuff. And, you know.
He went vegan after the fire.
I didn't know, though, that deep down that he was like, the crave that he had for it was going to be back. You know, that's how strong that is.
The crave for the drugs.
Yeah.
How long was he sober after the fire?
I don't know. It wasn't very long, I don't think. Because I think when he had done a Barbara Walters interview, I think he had already been high prior to that. But I couldn't say for sure exactly, you know, pinpoint a date or how long it actually was.
Wait, you're saying he was high during the
Not
interview?
during, prior to the interview.
Oh, prior to the interview. That's a strong addiction, man.
Yeah.
And so would you say the sobriety lasted weeks, months?
I don't know. How long did sobriety last? I don't know if he went in and out. I'm not really sure if he went in and out or once he got himself together, he was all right. I do know that MS, in a way, saved his life because a lot of things that he was doing prior to the MS, he could no longer do. And to be able to maintain and survive along with the quadruple bypass that he had had as well. So that added on to as well as far as what you're capable of doing, you know, what your heart can withstand and what your body can take. Those things actually changed in his life.
So he was aware of his health and he slowed down from the
definitely.
cocaine.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think he wanted to live after the fire?
I really don't know. The only thing I can do is put myself in the situation. There are times when you have a lot of strength, but there's times when you have your downtime and you're by yourself and you're thinking and you're alone. That's how I tell people, you know, just because you have all the stardom doesn't make you happy. You know, that doesn't bring you happiness. If you're alone and by yourself, don't know who your friends are, you're still miserable.
What made him happy?
I would think family, but I think the family that he had and grew up with, you know, like my great-grandmother and all those people were gone. So you're dealing with a lot of the people that he grew up with and believed in and wanted around him were no longer there. So it's almost in a way like everybody that you knew you ever loved is gone, you know? I mean, besides your children.
It must be a tough pill to swallow. Because
Yeah.
he turned it into an art. What was his actual process? Because, I mean, he turned having a heart attack, being an...
Only thing I know, because I remember when I was younger, he would actually just, if he thought of something, he would just write something down. And then he would develop that. You know, how can I expound on this? How can I make this a full story? And then he would make it into a story. And then he would go like to the Comedy Store or whatever and work things out, the kinks out, and bomb the first couple times until he, you know, mastered it, what he was talking about, and then became a joke that he left in the shows. But I remember him being backstage before he'd go on, he would think of something and jot it down and read over it a couple times and stuff, you know.
So he would like write something before a show. Would he perform at that show?
Yeah. If it was something that he was writing right then and there, he would perform it. I mean, if he would remember it, yeah.
Did he ever create while he was on stage and come off and say, "Wow, I just thought of this in a spur of the moment"?
Yeah, you would see stuff like that because if you've been with him a couple of times, you knew his like set, you know. And if he would throw something in there, you know, you would recognize it was something that was new and everything, and you say, "Oh, that was good," you know. You'd tell him, "Oh, that was good. That was funny."
What do you think his brilliance was?
His brilliance was being real and being able to tap into it, being totally honest and tapping into it, not concerned about the way people would think or how they would accept it, but telling his truth.
How was it when Gene Wilder came into the picture? Because they made a few great movies together.
Yeah, but they weren't friends.
No?
No, they worked good together. That's about it. They worked good together.
So they weren't friendly at all?
Oh, no. If you like, there's an interview my dad is doing, and he's high as a kite, and extremely high. And he's talking about Gene Wilder so bad in this interview. And I think that's when they were filming Stir Crazy, I believe in Arizona, and it was really bad and raw. It's a raw interview.
I remember he said Gene Wilder gets all the pussy and some cute white boys too.
Yeah.
I remember that interview.
Yeah.
But he said Gene Wilder was a genius and respect him, but he did.
Yeah.
So he didn't like Gene Wilder at all?
No, they didn't. You know, they weren't the kind of people that after they filmed, you know, let's go hang out and do this and do that.
What didn't he like about Gene Wilder?
I think Gene didn't like the fact that my dad was undependable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my dad didn't like because, I don't know how would you put it, someone in your eyesight, they're pompous a little bit, a little arrogant. Mm. And my dad didn't like that at all.
So did you ever witness any of their interactions?
No. Mm-hmm. No.
How did you and Gene get along?
Fine. Anybody I've ever met that was, you know, worked with my dad, I've never had any problem with. I've always enjoyed it. You know, nice meeting you and stuff like that. You know.
Did they have any arguments between them?
No, I never heard him argue.
Did he enjoy working with them? I mean, as far as the art, not person.
Yeah, I would think so because I don't think, well, if the money's right, you know, and I'm sure the money was right. I mean, they did 4 films together.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it's the money or we work good together. I'm thinking it had a lot to do with the money.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did he have one piece of work that he did that he was most proud of, where he was like, that is my
besides
best?
JoJo Dancer, because it was something that he directed and wrote, but I think being able to see my dad really do things as far as characters was Which Way Is Up.
Which Way Is Up?
Yeah, because he played multiple characters, and I could see my family in some of those characters. That's what was so good about it.
How did he feel about people stealing those characters? Because a lot of the characters from Which Way Is Up were stolen, like the Reverend. I've seen that stolen millions of times, and the other characters.
Yeah.
How did he feel about that?
Well, you know, I think with certain things, you know, you get upset with, but also certain things you have to be flattered in a way, you know.
A few years back, Quincy Jones made a couple of allegations involving your father. What did you think about that?
Crap. First of all, I think that Quincy, if he's going to tell stories, needs to tell them himself. You know, that's what I think. First off, there's no merit in it. My dad didn't hide stuff like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've read his book, he talks about his different encounters and all that stuff. So I don't think it's something he would have hidden ever.
Do you know if your father even knew Marlon Brando?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did, but I don't believe it was a thing where, let's hang out, Let me go to Marlon's house and hang out, I don't know.
They just knew each other.
Yeah, I think that, just knew each other business-wise,
What do you think were the motives for putting out or making a statement like that?
Senility. Yeah, he's senile or something. Something's got to be going on. Like I said, tell on your own self.
When you first heard it, what
That's exactly what I just said. Tell on your own self,
So you are now an author. You wrote a book, In a Prior Life.
Mm-hmm.
May we see it?
Yeah.
Exhibit A. What prompted you to write this book?
Well, when I first started with the book, it was telling what it was like being a child of a celebrity. By the time I was finishing the book, it was about how can I help somebody out who's going through some stuff? How could I help them out? How can I show, the dark roads I've been down, the darkness I've lived in, the dark tunnels that I've saw no light out of. How could I come out of those things and tell about those stories, and maybe somebody else can be inspired by it or accept it or want to pass it to somebody, anything like that. I even had a lady in California when I was out there for the daytime Emmys that she purchased 30 books for it was like a rehab shelter place because she felt that they would get something from the book. That's all I want about the book. I want people to not just be entertained, but to see somebody's struggles and see them coming out of the struggles and their darkness.
How'd you write the book? How'd you remember all the stories, the moments?
Well, what I would do, I would first start it off with a piece of paper, several pieces of paper, and I would write down, I was born. I write down my mother before she moved to Peoria, Illinois, and I would write points that I could remember, and I would go through all those points, and I ended up with 133 points. And then out of those points, I decided what I would want in the book. And then I would go to those particular points and press record and just talk about it. The whole situation, from start to ending. And I would do that about every story. And then that would open up also my memory of something else I may have forgotten, or maybe I, pushed down deep inside, and also now I would remember that, and then I talk about that, and that's how the book was formulated.
Was it a catharsis being able to put those stories in print and being able to go out there and tell your stories and some of the pain and tragedy that you've been through?
Yeah, it was definitely therapeutic, but it also brought up a lot of things that you may have suppressed in your life, the things that you've gone through, that you didn't realize had an impact on you as much as it did until you started talking about it. So that was always really good, talking about something, even though it was painful going through the motion of recording and all that stuff, because sometimes I would get physically ill talking about certain things when I would, especially when I knew I was going to talk about something, my back would hurt, I couldn't function, I was sick, and I had to force myself to do it. But in turn, it helped me out because it was like releasing all that luggage.
From releasing these stories and telling these stories, were you able to trace back and discover where the addiction came from or why you may have started using drugs?
Yeah, actually, because I didn't think me being molested when I was younger a lot. I didn't think that it would have had an impact on me. I didn't think people taking advantage of me sexually when I was underage had an impact on my life. I didn't think any of those things had an impact on anything until I started doing the book. And it was like light bulbs going off. Oh my gosh, this is probably why you did this. This is probably why you stayed doing this and all those things. So it released a lot of things.
Do you speak about abuse in the book?
Yes, definitely.
Was it an ongoing thing or?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, I've not been as abused as a lot of people, but it was more than an average thing of happening. It happened quite a few times and with multiple people, so it was never like just one person that only did it. I found out it was like this person or a cousin or an uncle, a friend, and then when I was a teenager realizing that, which I didn't realize till I was writing the book, that me fooling around with older men when I was like 17, 18, didn't realize that I was being molested then, because I hadn't even thought of it that way. I just thought of me fooling around with somebody who was older. And then when I was writing the book, it was like, oh my gosh, these were grown men.
When you say grown, are we talking 20s, 30s, or
20s,
40s?
30s, and 40s. Yeah. And it's different. It's weird how people look at when a male goes through being sexually abused, it's like, did they ask for it, did they want it? Versus a female the same age going through it, it was like, oh, she's being taken advantage of. And I think that's one thing that's like really a sad slope that we're on when we deal with young boys that go through this thing. That's why you don't get a lot of people that want to talk about what they've gone through, because they're immediately attacked and said, well, what did you do to bring this on to yourself? When you could have a girl the same age goes through the exact same thing, and it's like how horrible of a thing that they went through, had to endure that. And I think the dynamics of it need to change as far as the way we look at young men who go through what I went through.
Were all the abusers male?
All but one.
So there was a female abuser?
Yeah.
What would you tell someone that went through that type of abuse? How would you bring them through to the other end?
Well, first of all, let them know you're not alone. If they're talking to me, if they feel that they're open enough to discuss things with me, you're not alone. I understand what you've gone through. Because people need compassion. They need to understand that you know and you feel what they feel. You know, I've been through this thing, and let's walk through this together. You know, maybe I can share something with you that I've gone through, or that you don't have to go through that I went through, that I can share my life story to you, because we feel like a lot of times when we go through things that we're on a boat by ourselves and no one's ever been on that boat or no one's ever gotten off the boat. So basically sharing with people that, you know, this impacts me too, because I know exactly what you're going through. They just want to hear that you're compassionate and understand, and you're there with them, and you're not going to turn your back on them.
Is it something you can ever get over, or something you can deal with better?
I think you can deal with a lot of things better. There are certain things in life I believe that you can get over. But I also think that there are certain things in your life that are so traumatic that you can get past that. It's not that it's not there anymore, but it no longer dictates your life of how you're going to live your life. It's no longer the most important thing that you constantly think about. It's to where you're able to function and go through life and live life successfully.
So you can make a direct tie between the drug abuse
Yes.
and the abuse of the child.
Definitely.
And that was a way to mask the pain.
Mask the pain, not feel it.
Now, at that time, you said you were involved with older men, and
Mm-hmm.
you've been involved with men in your lifetime. And now, are you still involved with men?
No. That's what's so, how do I put this? That's what's so amazing about life, how that you think you're on one road for the rest of your life, and then you realize that the thing they're telling you to make a right on this road, to go this direction. And that's the way my life is now. It's not something I look for, or like saying this is what I want, but I think certain times in our life, things just click a little bit in our mind and in our hearts, that we go with it. Even though we may not understand the walk, we just go along the journey and keep taking the walk. And it's like being in the dark. You keep taking a step, and every step you take, it gets lighter and lighter. And I believe that's where my life is now.
Do you think you would have been involved with men if not for the abuse at an early age?
That's something I really don't know. I think that played a serious role in it, because for one thing, that's really all I ever really knew. That's all I really ever knew about compassion and about somebody showing me what I considered at the time love and affection. And that's all that you've ever had. That's all you know. Buy my book,
Where can they buy the book?
In a Pryor Life. You can purchase it on Amazon or at Bear Manor Media, B-E-A-R, Manor Media, right here.
Hold on, I'll zoom in. Hold it there. Don't move. Got it.
Okay. Or you can go through me at inapryorlife.com, and you can actually purchase a book through me if you want an autographed signed copy.